Welcome to Private Club Radio, your weekly source for industry education, news and discussion. Broadcasting from Tampa, Florida, ladies and gentlemen, here is your host, Gabriel Aloisi.
Welcome to part 2 of the National Club Conference recap show. If you missed it last week, we did part 1, so go back and listen to that one first. Had some awesome interviews there. But this week, for part 2, I saved the best for last. So on this episode, we're going to be chatting with Robert Cerecci, the general manager at Medinah, who's doing some spectacular things I'm sure you've heard about. If not, you will hear them today. Going to be speaking with famed golf course architect Rees Jones. They call him the Open Doctor because he's done so many U.S. Opens at this point. So many courses have been played that he designed. So exciting to have him on. You'll also hear from an NCA board member, Kevin Kapanen of Metrics First, and hear about some of the intriguing things that he's doing with data. And we're also going to be chatting with Rand Jarris of the USGA. Rand had an intriguing presentation surrounding water issues and really showed how your club could save a ton of money in watering and water resources while helping save the environment. So awesome show for you. This episode is brought to you by the National Club Association. I just want to say thank you to the NCA for putting on a fantastic conference and being one of the partners of the Private Club Radio Show. If you want to check out what the National Club Association is doing, head on over to nationalclub.org. You won't be disappointed. They got so much education, so much information and knowledge to share over there between their publications, their webinar series, which I'll be doing one of those later this year, I believe in September. Just a ton. It's a treasure trove of good stuff they're putting out there at thenationalclub.org. All right, without further ado, I'm going to bring on Rees Jones. He'll be our first interview today. Rees and I spoke before he got up to talk about the Longleaf Tea Initiative, and I spoke to Rees about that as well as his history designing some of the most fabulous properties around the country. Here's that interview. Rees, how are you? Welcome to Private Club Radio.
I'm doing great, Gabriel. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. And you'll be speaking later at the conference. You're going to be talking about the Longleaf Tea Initiative, and I'd love for you to just lay that out for folks. What is that initiative, and how can it help their club?
Well, the Longleaf Tea Initiative was started by U.S. Kids Foundation to help grow the game. Bill Bergen, a member of the ASGCA, worked with him at the Longleaf Club to formulate a new method for allowing each caliber player to find a comfortable challenge on the golf course. So there's 7 sets of tees, and they're all based on how far you drive the ball.
Okay. Yeah, that's excellent. So, and I heard that you warm up on the practice range, sort of see where you're at for the day. Does that happen, and then you decide what tees you'll play?
You warm up on the practice tee. There are targets on the practice range, then they're color-coded, and if you hit a drive to the silver tee, a silver marker, you play the silver tee.
Yep.
If you hit to the bronze, you play, and it really gives you an idea. Then each of those players has a chance to reach greens in regulation and have a par.
Sure.
It makes the game much more fun.
Yeah. Does it make it more fun as a golf course architect and designer as you're coming up with new tee boxes?
Well, if you think about it, back when the game originated, we almost had one tee box in every hole, and
Sure.
There used to be ladies' tees that played there's a par of 78. Then we started building forward tees. My father really started that at Peachtree in Atlanta in the 1940s.
Yeah.
And now this is just an evolution of that. In recent years, we've been adding forward tees on like Daniel Island, Tulsa Country Club, Baker Hill, so that the course plays a max of 4,000 yards.
Yeah.
And it's great for the kids, and it's great for the seniors, and everybody starts in the game and they stay in the game.
Right. And the most recent headline project here for you was Medinah up in Chicago, their number 2 course. Can you tell me a little bit about that project?
Well, Medinah is a very progressive club. I've been redoing number 3 and did it for the PGA Championship and the Ryder Cup. And then Tom Doak did number 1, and I'm doing number 2 in a restoration. And we're implementing the Longleaf Tee program there. 7 sets of tees, goes all the way down to 3,200 yards from 6,400 yards. They're calling it golf for life because you start as a youngster and you start on the forward tee and you move back as you get better. And then as you get older, you start sliding back forward.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think because of the tees, you're going to stay in the game for an entire lifetime.
Yeah, and it's a great game that you can play when you're. My father's 70 years old, former professional. He still beats me. I'm a young 36. It's frustrating, but it's great.
I'm
for
about
him.
your father's age, and we just played at the American Society Golf Course Architects meeting.
Yeah.
We had a match play, East versus West, and they paired me against a guy like 37. He was bombing the ball.
Yeah.
But I won the match.
Nice, good for you. So you've had quite the career, designed courses and worked on golf course designs all over the country and the world. What for you is some of your most proudest work? What are you most proud of?
Well, I think they're all great. I mean, I've been very fortunate. I don't take on too much work. I've been doing a lot of remodeling jobs, like Echo Lake in New Jersey and Essex Fells. We just changed the first 4 holes at Echo Lake and made them fit into the back nine and really dramatically changed. It's helped gain members. Essex Fells, we added a practice range on a course that had been there over 100 years. They never found a way to get it in there.
Yeah.
We got a 300-yard practice range, and I'm very proud of that. We've been working at Atlanta Athletic Club, Piedmont Driving Club, Carolina Country Club, Golden Horseshoe, all remodel work. And then I'm doing Danzante Bay in the Baja, Playa Grande in the Dominican, both coastal golf courses that'll be magical.
What's the most challenging environment for you to design in?
The most challenging, they're all different kinds of challenges. Quite often it's the climate, quite often it's the rock, like Lake of Isles in Connecticut and Cascada in Las Vegas. We're both on solid rock.
Yeah, wow.
So those were the days when we were building courses that would generate a lot of money. Sure. And so we were able to blast the rock and flip the rock. And I'd say they're the most challenging.
Sure. I bet. Now I hear that you actually caddy for your grandchildren. That was sort of what spawned your interest in the Longleaf Tee program. Can you tell folks about that?
Well, I have a grandson who's very competitive, and he's my buddy. So when he plays in Longleaf tournaments, my daughter calls me up to caddy for him because I can keep him from getting too rattled. Yeah. Because I've played in golf tournaments before. So I'm his caddy. Sometimes he listens to me, sometimes he doesn't. But we do quite well together.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. Reese, thank you so much for carving out some time with us here at the National Club Conference. Looking forward to having you, hearing you speak here shortly.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
That presentation on the Longleaf Tee Initiative was co-presented with Robert Sorecki, and so I was so excited that I had the chance to speak with Robert. He's someone who I've been wanting to chat with on the show for quite some time because, as you probably have heard me talk about or have seen yourself in news and on social media and whatnot, he is doing some fantastic things over at Medina, and I don't want to give it away if you don't know about it, so we're just going to go ahead and cut to that interview. Here's my discussion with Robert Sorecki at the National Club Conference. Well, I'm joined by Robert Sorecki, the general manager at Medina Country Club up in Chicago, Illinois area. Naperville, I guess it is, Robert.
Naperville, where I live, but we're in Medina, in the city of Medina.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Well, obviously you're doing some pretty interesting things in the private club industry. Could you talk about a few of the different initiatives that you've brought to Medina?
Absolutely. We've got, since the 2 years I've been there, we really try to focus on bringing awareness to Medina for things other than golf. Mm-hmm. So clearly, you can have a mission statement, you can have all these wonderful things that you back up or that you believe and value, but as prospective members, we were falling short in some categories. So clearly being a Ryder Cup venue, we knew that golf was important, but in the eyes of the prospective members, they wanted more, they wanted different things. Mm-hmm. So we said, how do we bring something at the forefront of Medina to shed light on those things that are important to us? Food and beverage is one of them. While we don't tout a lot of our food and beverage, we do tremendous amount, for a club like ours. Mm-hmm. And we said, all right, let's focus on the farm-to-table concept. So we said, for a club like Medina, anything other than golf game, people will pay attention. Sure. Right? Yeah. So we invest money in golf courses, build new greens. In general, the public doesn't care. Right. You bring 40 chickens adjacent to the Ryder Cup, they pay attention.
Yeah, so tell me about these chickens.
So, the whole idea started 2 years ago when I really wanted to just build a small garden and just to bring some attention to food and beverage.
Right.
And I said, why don't we do a few chickens, just a few? And I talked to the team about it, and lo and behold, one of my managers, my director of engineering, and his wife do this at home, and that's their passion.
Right.
So they went out and said, Robert, we know exactly what you want. I spelled out kind of the vision, and they constructed a beautiful chicken coop with 20 some odd beds of fresh herbs and vegetables.
Yeah.
We chose these chickens from like a catalog. I mean, we're picking chicks from a catalog.
Nice.
So we did that last year. We didn't tell the board, with all fairness, because I don't think they would have understood or endorsed
Right.
it.
So that was a bold move to do that.
You know what? It was. It was a very, very calculated risk, because you're dealing with a very, very important brand. And we were very cognizant with the team not to play with the brand, but not deteriorate it in any way, only enhance it.
Right.
So we got it up and running, and immediately, once word got around, we got a lot of attention. Mm-hmm. So we got written up everywhere. People wanted to talk to us about that. And what he did is, it's really not about the eggs. I mean, people talk about it's not about the eggs.
Right.
It's really about what is the symbol of the chicken coop. It symbolizes our commitment to nourishing the bodies of our members, our commitment to freshness, our commitment to paying attention.
Right.
So like I said just earlier, you can talk about a great game, but today's consumers, they want evidence.
Sure.
Right. So pointing them to a piece of paper that talks about, this is really important to us.
Right.
We can now point to 40 hens in fresh eggs for our buffet.
Right.
We're now doubling the size of our vegetable garden. Mm-hmm. So now we have tangible proof to not only say that the nutrition is important to us, but this is how we demonstrate that.
What a great brand story it is. You're telling a story is what it sounds like.
You know what it is. It's all about the brand. And I think what we realize is that we can no longer rely on third parties to tell our stories.
Right.
I mean, great, the Ryder Cup came and they left, right? So, but that goes with
and
the
that's
Ryder
once every, 20 years or something. Yeah.
So they're gone. So we realized that we have to eventually be in charge of our own brand, tell our own stories, create opportunities that will generate the buzz.
Right.
And let's be honest, I mean, the country club business, it's not like the bar set very high, right? Yep. I mean, if you're a golf-centric club, you look around, anything you do that's non-golf-centric will probably give some attention.
Right.
So that's why we also did the food truck. Was very popular.
And you said buzz, so let's talk about the bees.
Oh, the bees. That's we're looking for that next fall.
Yeah.
We're talking to some growers, some people that are in the bee business.
Yep.
But we decided let's enlarge our vegetable gardens. Let's enlarge the coop. We got our food truck up and running. Yep. We tap our own maple trees. We have a lot of maples.
Yep.
So we branded the entire farm-to-table concept Meacham's Garden, named by the landowner of Medina.
Yeah.
So we're big into branding. I'm big into branding.
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, it's all about the storytelling. So to have place to have vegetables and where the owners of Medina in the 20s. So all of our products, whether it's canned vegetables, the eggs, the maple syrup, eventually the honeys, we branded it with a beautiful label called Meacham's Garden.
I've seen that,
So everything will come from that, under that label.
Do you actually think that'll become a revenue stream for the club as well, or is it just more for the brand and the story?
That's funny how everybody's worried about the revenue stream. Frankly, I don't really care.
Yeah, right.
Even if we generate $300,
sure.
The buzz that it generates and the fact to be able to tell that story is worth so much more.
It's just great PR.
Frankly, I'd rather just give it away, right? Because it's all about the storytelling, whether it's the food truck and what kind of hens there are, how many eggs. Nobody cares.
It's got to instill some pride in the membership, too.
It is. Now it is.
Yeah.
At first, we still have a handful of members that cannot reconcile the fact that we really literally have 40 hens within
they think you're creating some circus show?
20 yards next to the Ryder Cup. I mean, for some of them, but little by little, I think we've proven to the fact that we would never do anything to tarnish that brand, ever.
Right.
So, and we also have demonstrated other successes, and so I think we've kind of gained the trust of our membership.
So, for a manager out there, how does he know where to draw the line, or what to do where you're not stepping over and tarnishing the brand? Where does that come from?
It's interesting. So I think everybody says that in Medina, you guys are big. It's easy for you guys. I can tell you that it takes exponentially more courage than it takes money to get stuff done.
Yeah.
The chicken coop cost us, I think, $2,500. We used leftover wood from the Ryder Cup.
Wow.
We used leftover brick pavers from a chimney we torn down. So it wasn't the money.
Right.
Well, the team had the confidence and the gumption to move forward because we believed in this. So I think club managers have to kind of lean into it.
Sure.
And I wouldn't start with anything big or expensive. We're building a $2 million golf performance center, a $2 million paddle hut. Don't start with that. We didn't start with that. We started with little things. So what I would do is I'd find out what other resorts for-profit entities do and duplicate and replicate. I mean, again, the bar, we're not disrupting industries here, right?
Right?
I mean, we're still in an environment where some clubs think the fitness center are a disruptive industry,
Sure.
right? So we're very, very fortunate.
Right.
We're in an industry with such laggers that pretty much anything we do is going to be
It's
considered.
nice you can see what's already successful and
that's the
working, and
point,
then 5
right?
years later put it to work for you, and it's really new.
So it's not like we have to be like the Google, so think outside. All we have to do is just think outside the box for our world, but just look at what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
We look at other, it doesn't have to be hotels, restaurants, resorts, other companies.
Right.
And we do look at concept. I was gonna start off with a ice cream truck. And then it grew into something bigger because we didn't want to build another halfway house.
Yeah.
But it was all about what can we do. To me, ice cream trucks are great because what a symbol of community, right? That noise, the music. But then when we talked about building another halfway house, then we thought, all right, we got to make it bigger. So we got the food truck. But it doesn't take a lot. Gated communities, I always say, if I had a gated community, I'd build a dog park. How expensive is it to build a dog park?
I love that idea because you don't need much space. Yeah.
But it's got to be big. Nobody said it had to be big. Back to the story.
Yeah.
Even if it's 15 feet by 15 feet, nobody cares how big it is. All you care about is you have a dog
And
park.
people are obsessed with their dogs.
That's right. So you do 15 by 15 feet, cost you, I don't know, $500. And then people complain that it's too small and the dogs are getting, and then you make it bigger.
Sure.
So I think it's not so much about the cost. I think it's about the manager's willingness to lean into it.
Yep.
And club boards have beaten us up over the years so bad that I think they kind of took our enthusiasm. They took a lot of club managers' willingness to risk. Yeah. And when you stop wanting to risk, you can't grow. Then you settle into safe.
Right.
And to me, that's pretty dangerous.
Yeah, I think stagnation is probably the most dangerous place to be at.
But in the club world, it's a very comfortable place.
Sure,
and
of course.
it guarantees you employment for a while.
Yeah, right.
It goes both ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you're a voracious reader, Robert. I'd love for you to give managers out there some of your top picks that you've read in the last couple of years,
absolutely.
some things that would help them.
Thank God for Audible. I love that thing. I go through 2.5 to 3 books a month. I would say the ones that I really, really enjoy are Mindset, Grit, a few of Simon Sinek's books. Those are all wonderful.
Yep.
I'm a
Starts
huge
with Why.
An incredible book. Mm-hmm. And I use that a lot in my board orientations. And it's one of our founding values: purpose over function.
Yep.
When I do new employee orientations and new board member orientations, I always say purpose over function. Mm-hmm. We're so busy about talking about our function and what we do, we kind of forget what our purpose is. So I use that a lot when we talk about chicken coops.
Sure.
And I say it's not about the eggs. It's about our purpose.
Right.
It's about taking care of the well-being of our members.
Well said.
I'm a huge fan of his. I'm a huge psychology and philosophy buff. Mm-hmm. So anything on psychology is huge.
Yeah.
There's a great book called Tribes. Because I think Rick Patterson put it extremely well.
Yeah.
Clubs are a tribal experience.
Yes. Tribal Magic, that's the name of his brand.
It is. And I think there's a couple books I've read on growing church memberships. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And how do these large churches develop enthusiasm of
It's
church
a similar
goers.
dynamic, yeah.
So that's the thing.
Yeah.
So you don't, it's funny, you don't have to learn a lot from necessarily clubs.
Right.
But you find out industries that are kind of that are challenged the same way we are.
Right.
And to me, churches, because our church is massive, right? Mm-hmm. I always thought, how do they make me feel so welcome? Right? So it's by having small groups. How do you bring tribes? How do you get people to be... So I think Audible is fantastic. I'll post it on my LinkedIn.
Okay,
I should do that.
Yeah, I'd love to see that reading list.
Dick Copland does that. I think I've read a couple of books he suggests that I read. Yep. But I'd love to do that.
Fantastic,
I'll put some
Robert.
books out there.
And your own book may be coming out. I don't know if we can break the news here on Private Club Radio.
So I have I'm a huge photographer, and if anybody wants to see me on Flickr, if I can make a living, taking photos, I'll do that. I'm a street photographer, and I was just recently approached by a publishing company if I'd be interested in writing a book on how-to for street photography. They're currently evaluating about 30, 40 of my images. If you go to Robert Cerecci on Flickr, you'll see it.
They're absolutely gorgeous, by the way. I was looking at you. You were just recently at a leopard colony in India. That was incredible.
I went to last trip was in last year in India, in Delhi, and I spent 2 days at a leopard colony. As a street photographer, I look forward to and I cherish to document the lives of those people that are not as fortunate we are. Right. And I find it fascinating that, I find joy in being around people that are the opposite end of the spectrum of what we do.
Yeah, it's got to really ground you.
Oh, and then some. Right? Spending a couple hours with folks that have leprosy is because what we do is so not real. Right. And I think one way for me to get grounded is to pick up my cameras, travel to ends of the earth, and typically go to places where folks don't ever want to go. Mm-hmm. And you come back enriched. You get to understand people, their lives. Yeah. And it just, it keeps me calibrated, keeps me, it's about context and framework.
Right, yeah. So to me, that's got to serve you well in your career as a general manager.
Thank you. So hopefully they're reviewing it now, and in the next couple months I'll find out if they want to pursue it, and then
awesome,
we'll do that.
Yeah, we'll definitely recommend folks check out that Flickr stream. And Robert, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you, Gabe.
Wish you all the best of luck over there at Medina. Hope we can do this again on a longer form episode with you.
We'll do. Thank you, Gabe. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Great stuff from Robert there. Once again, just a gentleman and a pleasure to spend some time with there at the conference. My next interview that day was with Rand Jarris of the United States Golf Association. We chatted about water issues and some interesting initiatives that the USGA is rolling out. Here's that interview. Well, I'm here with Rand Jarris. He is the Senior Managing Director of Public Services at the United States Golf Association. Rand, welcome to Private Club Radio.
Hey, good to be with you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I just heard your presentation here at the National Club Conference on water management and some of the new things you guys are doing. Can you tell folks a little bit about what's happening in terms of water and where the USGA is going?
Sure. We think both short-term and long-term about the game. And water's one of those issues that is of great significance and relevance to golf right now. I think we believe if you project far out into the future, and I'm talking 25, 50 years, which is so far beyond what most of us think, water's probably the single greatest issue that this game is going to have to address and deal with.
Sure.
On a much shorter term, it is a very real issue today in many parts of our country, particularly in the West and Southwest, where we're seeing extraordinary increase in the cost of water for facilities. Right. We're seeing changes in legislation, changes in regulation that are actually preventing golf courses from using the water that they need. Mm-hmm. And so we're investing a lot of research, time, resources right now into developing and finding solutions of all sorts of different types that can help golf courses reduce their dependence on water and be more responsible, better partners for the environment.
So I know you're doing that with something like a GPS data logger. Yep. Can you explain to folks what that is and how that works?
Sure. So we're all familiar with GPS data, from our phone or our car. That technology can be reduced to such a small scale. I guess we know that from our phones.
Sure.
That it looks like a small matchbook that you put in your pocket, and we'll put these GPS data loggers in the pockets of golfers and send them out to play. And what we do is we capture data on their location every 5 seconds. When they're done their round, we can download all that data, and we can, on a satellite map, draw an image of every place where they were in the course of their round. Well, if you collect data on golfers over the course of 2 weeks, what starts to emerge are patterns on a golf course where we can see very clearly where they play most frequently, but we'll also find areas where golfers never hit the golf ball, where they never play from, yet we are spending, as a golf course, we're spending a lot of resource to maintain that area.
Sure.
So this is data-based, objective, scientific methodology that, on almost any golf course, we can generally reduce maintained and irrigated turf by 15, 20, 30 acres.
Wow.
And that's really significant savings, both in water and in cost for that facility.
You had another example during your presentation. I think it was, you showed how you could save, I believe it was 2 million gallons of water. Mm-hmm. Can you walk folks through, from a high level, what it would take to do something like that?
Sure. One of the things that we would encourage every facility to do, if they haven't done one recently, is what we call an irrigation audit. Identifying where all the irrigation heads are on their golf course, and understanding how they've been deployed and how they're set. So, you can set both the throw, the distance of an irrigation head, as well as, in 360 degrees, how much turf it's actually irrigating. What you find is a lot of overlap and gross inefficiencies simply in the design of the irrigation system. So what we were talking about in the presentation is a golf course in Texas that has about 90,000 square feet of tees on 18 holes, but they're irrigating 900,000 square feet of turf around those tees. It's
Right.
horribly irritating. So it's a 9% efficiency. And there aren't many businesses today that can be successful with 9% efficiency on their resources. So if they redesign those irrigation heads and redesign that irrigation system, they can, just on the tees and on those irrigation heads, projection is a savings of 2 million gallons a year.
And what happens then in that case is the tee boxes look almost like an island of green,
Exactly.
and it really doesn't detract from the experience, though.
It certainly doesn't affect play in any way.
Yeah.
And look, there are people who are used to a golf course being wall-to-wall green, and certainly that aesthetic over time, our understanding of what a golf course looks like is going to have to change.
Sure.
But you know what this is? This is taking golf back to its traditions
Right.
and the way it was.
Sure.
You know, you go back to, golf existed for 500 years in Scotland before there were irrigation systems.
Right.
We relied on what Mother Nature gave us. And it was a really enjoyable, fun activity.
Yeah.
It was a great sport. It was growing. It was thriving. And today we're spending a lot of resource inputs on parts of the golf course that simply don't come into play,
Sure.
and we can back off on that.
Yeah. Well, Rand, I really enjoyed your presentation. Thanks so much for coming here and telling us a little bit about it as well.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to chat.
All right.
As you could probably hear in my voice during that interview, I was really intrigued by the subject matter, and it was quite stunning and fascinating to see the pictures that Rand showed during his presentation, as well as some of the data that he presented. And you could just clearly see how important this issue is. He just did a wonderful job. And if you ever get a chance to see that presentation, would highly recommend it. Well, we've come to the last interview that I conducted during the conference, and it was really a pleasure to speak with this gentleman. I spoke with Kevin Koppanen of Metrics First, and they're doing some exciting things with data, and you just have to hear it to believe it. So here's my interview with Kevin. So join right off hot from the stage, Kevin Koppanen. He is the president at Metrics First. Kevin, tell me about some of the interesting things you guys are doing over there.
Well, it's been an exciting year. We've been working with a pilot group of clubs on really bringing their data to life. And when I say their data, I mean all of it. So, all of the financial data, all of their member activity data, and that's whether they use one system or 5. And then working with them around the strategic issues at the club to make sure we align the right type of dashboards and reporting so that their committees and their board are all looking at the same information as the management team. It's really powerful, and we've loved to see the impact, the early impact it's had with the clubs that we're working with.
How is it important to really operate as a board with the right data versus the opinion that's out there?
So as a former club president, I can just tell you that there was never enough data when I served in that role, and it's been incredibly important to and I think it's focused committees and boards on the right things, and it's actually a lot easier to get everyone on the same page when, rather than relying on sort of anecdotal evidence, you're relying on real member activity and real trends at your own club.
Sure.
And then you can actually compare that against like-sized clubs or clubs in similar areas. So it's I think it's brought a level of focus, and it's allowed committees and boards to really focus on longer term and higher impact issues.
Can you give me an example that you've recently worked through? Maybe there was a challenge or an issue that the data points that you found really provided the clear-cut answer for?
Sure. Everyone has questions around real engagement. As members at private clubs, there are a lot of things that we do that incur a charge, and there's just as many other things we do that there isn't a charge. And so that data lives someplace in a system that's probably disconnected from a lot of the financial data. And so attrition is something that's more and more clubs want to learn about. They want to learn about what are the commonalities in members that choose not to be members any longer, and and even before attrition, you can look at members with longstanding tenure versus members with, say less than 5 years of tenure at the club, and you can actually see the things that at the club that are engaging them, not just based on their spending, but also based on the events they attend or the facilities that they use or the programming that they take advantage of. And so we're seeing clubs actually bring this data to house committees and greens committees, et cetera, and say, is this program that we've done for 10 years still relevant? It looks like our long-tenured members are involved, but we're missing the opportunity with our newer members. So could we change it up a little bit? Should we eliminate it? Lots of the idea of having the right programming for the most amount of members and getting that engagement up there is just a huge opportunity almost for every club.
Yeah, it's got to be night and day for sure. Now, you're also looking at membership categories, and have you found out some interesting things there?
Yes, absolutely. So, and I'd say even beyond categories, maybe the most exciting thing is looking at categories that we create on the fly that make up maybe a number of different membership categories. But say we're looking at different genders, we're looking at members with families versus members without families or who don't have families yet. And when you're able to look across some demographic data, which the club has, but which falls outside of a membership category, then you've got the best of both worlds. You certainly have a good idea of what's happening within a membership category, how engaged one category is versus another, how much discretional spending there is one category versus another.
Yeah.
But when you can break those categories apart and actually filter based on things that are not category specific, you might see if you're missing an opportunity across another attribute beyond membership category.
The example that you gave during your talk was, I believe, senior memberships or those subsidized senior memberships, I should say.
Yes. So oftentimes it's a question, and both senior and junior,
like the young executives or whatever. Yeah.
Those clubs are constantly concerned about keeping members as long as they can keep them. That plays into what decision making around senior categories, what attributes they should have, what privileges, what cost,
right.
And as a feeder system, junior membership categories. So when you actually can measure the attributes of the senior membership category as well as the success of your junior or provisional membership categories, these are categories that are created specifically to get a member demographic that you think you need in the club. If you can't track effectively if you've been successful, getting them from that category to, say a full member category or golf category, or, less of a provisional category, then the program really needs to be tweaked. And so we see a lot of tinkering with membership categories, and our goal is just to provide data and insight into whether or not it was successful.
Sure. Now, where are those data points being culled from? Where are those hidden spots that clubs just don't? Maybe they have it, but they don't even realize?
That's a great question. I was actually hoping to get it from the panel, but we were right after lunch, so people maybe were still in a food coma.
That happens at these conferences, doesn't it?
But think holistically across a club, and they may use several different systems for point of sale and accounting, for their website. They may have a third-party app. They may use 2 or 3 different vendors depending on the type of reservation.
Those are the Frankenstein systems, I call it.
Correct, yes. And I guess one of the benefits of what we do is we actually connect all those systems. The other thing that's really pretty amazing about reporting in a secondary system rather than out of your primary system is that you can make changes in the data that don't go backward. So say you've had the same chart of accounts in your financial system for years, and it's quite painful to change that. You can actually make the changes and combine categories of spending items or expense items in our system, get reporting the way you'd like to.
Nice.
And you don't have to worry about retraining and making changes in your kind of your transaction system. So, there are some benefits, a lot of benefits actually, to having a secondary system that allows you to have more flexibility with the data. Think about most clubs that we've worked with have thousands and thousands of point-of-sale items, and many of which are older items that aren't used anymore.
Yeah.
We can actually clean those out, map them, et cetera. So that'd be a huge project to do inside of the point of sale and accounting system.
Sure.
It's really just part of our process of getting
Nice.
the club going.
Nice. So if people want to take the next step and engage with you guys, what do they do?
That's a great question. So what we've tried to do is have a lot of information on our website. Really believe that the days of mailing brochures are way behind us.
Sure.
And it's a piece of software. So our website has a bunch of videos and a lot of really technical information, not just about what the system can do, but the platform it's built on. So it's great if you want to have your if you're a club and you want to have your IT consultant take a look at what we're all about too. So metricsfirst.com is the place to go. My contact information is there. We have various ways to contact us through the website. But the best first step is a conversation on the phone. And if the club has strategic goals that they're trying to meet that could be better helped with data, we'll uncover that in a 30-minute conversation.
Sure.
And then from there we'll move on to a demo, and we'll start looking at the club systems to see what we can pull in automatically.
Fantastic. Metricsfirst.com. Last question for you, Kevin. What does the NCA mean to you? You sitting on the board of directors last year, and
Yes.
are you on the board again this year as well?
I am. I'm on the NCA Foundation board.
Yeah.
And I owe so much to the game of golf and the industry. I grew up working in the industry, and was lucky enough to have it impact my professional life, my personal life. Eventually became a board member and a president of a club I grew up at, which was a complete honor. And anything I can give back to this game and to the future of this game is incredible. And I don't, when I look at NCA, that's what they get up every single day, 365 days a year thinking about. So to be part of a team, part of a board that is really maniacal about the success of this industry and the game is an incredible honor. And Henry and Brad have done an incredible job. And it's just, they make doing good fun.
That's right. Well said. Well said. Kevin, thanks so much for coming on Private Club Radio and stopping by here at the show.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well, hopefully you got a taste of what you might have missed at the National Club Conference, and I hope I've put a little fire in your belly to make sure that you go ahead and register for Los Angeles next year. That's where the National Club Conference will be held. Once again, check out all the great things that the National Club Association does for this industry over at nationalclub.org. And until next week, here's to your membership success.
Private Club Radio is brought to you by the Private Club Agency, the premier marketing and consulting firm dedicated to helping clubs increase and retain their membership. Visit privateclubagency.com to learn more.